Life has a way of teaching us lessons, some gentle, some harsh. And the harshest of them all, realizing what you had, only after it's gone. One day, she'll wake up, and it'll hit her. You were different. You weren't just another guy passing through her life. You were the one who truly saw her, the one who stood by her when things got tough, the one who gave her peace in a world that never stops shouting. But by the time she understands that, you'll be gone. Not because you're angry, not because you're playing games, but because you've grown. You've moved forward, not to hurt her, but because you refused to stay stuck in a place where your worth wasn't recognized. And that's the beauty of knowing your value. You don't chase, you don't beg, you walk away with dignity. Today, we're diving into why that choice, the choice to let go and focus on your growth, is your greatest power move. And by the end, you'll understand this truth. The strongest man is the one who knows when to stop waiting and start becoming. Let's get into it. Number 1. She realized too late. At first, she doesn't notice. She's busy, caught up in her routines, her distractions, her plans. Life keeps her moving, and she assumes you'll always be there, like a book left on a shelf, gathering dust but always within reach. In her mind, you weren't going anywhere. She believed she had all the time in the world to figure things out, to sort through her feelings, to decide what she really wanted. But life has a way of surprising us. One day, something shifts. Maybe it's a song that plays on the radio, one you both used to listen to. Maybe it's a scent, faint but familiar, that stirs something inside her. Or maybe it's just a quiet evening, one of those empty moments when the noise dies down and she's left alone with her thoughts. And that's when it hits her, the absence. At first, she brushes it off, just a passing thought. But then it happens again and again. She catches herself scrolling through old messages, half expecting your name to light up her screen. But it doesn't. She glances at her phone, silent. Not because you're too busy, but because you've stopped reaching out. Moments that once felt forgettable now linger. A familiar phrase reminds her of how you always knew what to say, without ever trying too hard. A certain place makes her remember how you'd quietly take the lead, steady and sure. And that's when she feels it. The void. She starts to replay memories, not just the big moments, but the small ones she once overlooked. The way you listened, really listened, when she spoke. The way your presence alone seemed to calm her, like a steady hand guiding her through life's chaos. She remembers how you never needed to raise your voice, because your strength wasn't loud. It was solid, grounded, unshakable. Back then, she mistook your steadiness for predictability. She thought you were just stable, maybe even too calm. But now she sees it clearly. What she once dismissed as ordinary was anything but. Because excitement fades, but depth remains. And now that your depth is gone. And that's when the ache sets in. Not just a passing sadness, but a deep, lingering ache that stays with her. She's not just missing you. She's realizing that what you brought into her life, that calm presence, that quiet strength, was rare. You weren't just another option. You were the one. And now, she knows it. But knowing it now, it's already too late. Number 2. When she feels your absence hit hard, at first, the memories come quietly, like whispers in the back of her mind. But as time passes, those whispers grow louder. Late at night, she lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, and that's when it happens. The memories, the ones she once brushed off, start flooding back. She remembers the way you listened. Not just hearing her words, but really listening. Understanding what she meant, even when she struggled to say it. You didn't just nod along or wait for your turn to speak. You gave her your full attention, like nothing else mattered in those moments but her. And now she craves that. She remembers how you never had to raise your voice to be heard because your presence spoke louder than words ever could. There was strength in your stillness, power in your patience. Back then, she didn't see it that way. She called you too calm. She thought you lacked passion, mistaking your self-control for indifference. She believed she needed something more exciting, more chaotic. But now she sees it for what it was, wisdom. She remembers those moments when she tried to test you, picking fights just to get a reaction. And every time, you refused to take the bait. Not because you didn't care, but because you knew better. You knew that a man who's secure in himself doesn't waste his energy proving it. He doesn't shout to be heard or break things to be noticed. He just is. And that's what's eating away at her now. Because in a world full of impulsive reactions and shallow connections, she's starting to see what set you apart. It wasn't just your calmness, it was your certainty. You knew who you were. You didn't need to prove it, and while she once mistook that steadiness for predictability, now she realizes it was exactly what she needed most. Now she compares, even if she doesn't want to. The new men she meets, they talk a lot but say very little. They react instead of respond. They chase attention instead of commanding respect. And with each comparison, your absence feels louder and more painful. Because what she once dismissed as just the way you are, that quiet strength, that calm presence, wasn't just something, it was everything. And now, she knows that too. But knowing it now, it doesn't change the fact that you're gone. Number 3. Memories that haunt her now. At first, she believed she could replace you. She told herself that someone else would step in, someone new, someone different. She believed the feelings you brought into her life could be found again, easily, effortlessly. But reality has a way of humbling us. And now, she knows better. Every new connection feels off. Every conversation feels a little too shallow. Every man she meets seems to be trying too hard, talking more than they listen, reacting instead of responding, constantly reaching for attention instead of commanding respect. None of them move the way you did, calm, steady, sure of yourself. And no matter how hard she tries to ignore it, the comparisons start creeping in, quietly at first, then louder and louder. She notices how other men get flustered over small things, the way their emotions control them instead of the other way around. She remembers how you handled pressure, never breaking, never snapping, just steady, like a rock in the storm. She notices how these new men scramble to impress her, overcompensating, oversharing, overdoing, yet somehow never making her feel safe the way you did without even trying. She remembers how you carried yourself, never desperate for attention, never pushing to prove your worth. You simply were. And that quiet confidence, it's something she feels missing now. Like a house without a foundation. And that's when she starts to feel it. The empty space. At first, it's subtle, a vague sense that something's missing. But over time, that feeling grows and grows until it's impossible to ignore. Because when a man like you leaves, he doesn't just take his presence, he takes his influence. You were her calm when life felt chaotic. The steady voice of reason when she doubted herself. The quiet strength that made her feel safe. Not because you controlled her, but because you knew how to control yourself. And now that you're gone, there's no one left to fill that space. Because men like you aren't easily replaced. You don't just show up, you build. You leave an imprint, not just in her mind, but in her heart, in her very sense of stability. And no matter how many new faces she meets, none of them carry what you did. Because a man of value doesn't need to be noticed. His presence is felt. And when he's gone, that absence speaks louder than any words ever could. And now, in the quiet moments, when the noise of life dies down and she's left with her thoughts, she feels it most. The empty space you left behind, and the painful truth she's only now beginning to accept. No one else can fill it. Number 4. The void no one else can fill. She thought you'd crumble. She imagined you stuck in the past, drowning in regret, replaying old memories, clinging to the hope that one day she'd return. In her mind, you were frozen, waiting by the phone, staring at the ceiling late at night, wondering what you could have done differently. But instead, you leveled up. You didn't stay stuck. You didn't waste your energy chasing closure or hoping she'd see your worth. Instead, you turned inward. You embraced the discomfort, the late nights when doubt crept in, the mornings when memories tried to drag you back. But instead of letting those feelings break you, you faced them. You didn't just endure the pain, you used it. Every setback became fuel. Every unanswered question pushed you to focus on what was within your control. Yourself. You hit the gym when your mind tried to dwell on the past. You focused on your goals when emotions tried to pull you back. You built discipline when bitterness tried to take hold. And slowly, you changed. The man she once knew, the one who quietly hoped she'd recognize his value, no longer exists. In his place stands a man who's stronger, sharper, and more powerful than she ever imagined. And now, she sees it. She sees the way others respect you, how your presence carries more weight than ever before. She hears about your progress, your growth, your success, and it unsettles her. Because she realizes the truth. You didn't just survive without her. You thrived. And what stings most? You're not just better. You're better in ways that make her question what she ever meant to you at all. Because the man you've become doesn't look like someone who's waiting. He looks like someone who's winning. She wonders how you moved on so effortlessly. But the truth is, it wasn't effortless, it was deliberate. You poured your energy into becoming the man you were meant to be. And now when she sees you more confident, more focused, more centered than ever before, she realizes something even more painful. She didn't just lose you. She lost the man you could have been for her. And now that man, the man you are now, no longer needs her validation, her approval, or her presence. Because you've built a life that no longer makes space for someone who couldn't see your worth. And that's what haunts her most. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Number 5. You leveled up without her. She thought moving on would be easy, convinced there was someone better out there, someone more exciting, more charming, more different. She jumped back into the dating world, expecting to find what she thought was missing. At first, it felt fresh, the thrill of someone new, the rush of unfamiliar attention. But then, reality struck. This new man? He doesn't listen the way you did. When she speaks, he nods along. But his mind is elsewhere. He hears her words, but never seems to understand what she means. Conversations that once felt effortless now feel like work. She finds herself explaining things you would have just known. And when life gets hard, He reacts quickly, impulsively. Emotions drive him. Frustration bubbles over at the smallest inconvenience. His temper flares where you once stayed calm. He panics where you once paused to think. And that steady presence, the one she once called boring, now feels like something she craves. Because what she used to dismiss as predictable now feels like peace. What she once overlooked as too calm now feels like security. Because a Stoic man doesn't need to control others, he controls himself. He doesn't need to demand attention. His presence speaks for him. And that kind of presence, it's impossible to replace. Now when she sits across from this new man, smiling politely, trying to convince herself he's what she wants, she feels it creeping in. The absence of your calmness, the emptiness where your strength used to be, the sharp contrast between a man who reacts and a man who responds. And with each moment that passes, she's no longer just comparing, she's remembering. Because now she knows, the steady presence she once took for granted wasn't something ordinary. It was rare. It was you. And now she realizes she gave that away. Number 6. Why her new man can't compare. The memories that once felt forgettable now feel sharp, clear, and undeniable. Now she remembers those moments, the ones she once brushed off. The times she pushed your buttons, testing your patience, hoping you'd crack just to prove you cared. The moments she tried to stir chaos, expecting you to react with anger or jealousy. But you never took the bait. You didn't shout. You didn't break character. You didn't chase her down when she pulled away. And back then, she mistook that calmness for indifference. She thought you didn't care enough to fight back, that your silence was weakness, that your patience was passivity. But now she understands. You weren't cold. You were in control. You weren't ignoring her. You were choosing your peace over her games. You didn't raise your voice because you didn't need to. You knew who you were. You knew what you brought to the table, and you knew that real strength doesn't shout. It stands firm. And now that you're gone, she sees it. She sees that your calmness wasn't a lack of passion. It was wisdom. Your refusal to engage in her chaos wasn't indifference. It was discipline. And your silence, it wasn't weakness. It was power. Because the man who refuses to lose himself, no matter how hard he's pushed, is the man who commands the most respect. And now, as she reflects on those moments, the ones where she thought she was winning by pushing you away, she realizes she was only losing something she didn't yet understand. Because what she once called boring was actually strength. And what she once called too calm was actually wisdom. But now, she knows that wisdom is gone. And that's the pain she has to live with. Not just losing you, but realizing she misjudged the very things that made you irreplaceable. Number 7. The regret of misjudging you. You didn't storm out. You didn't shout, argue, or throw words like weapons. You didn't post cryptic messages online or craft some dramatic goodbye. You just left quietly, calmly, with dignity. And that silence, it speaks louder than any outburst ever could. While she expected you to lash out, to send angry messages, to beg her to come back, to prove you were hurting, you gave her nothing. No words, no drama, no signs of weakness. And that's what unsettles her most. Because now she's left alone with her thoughts. Thoughts that spiral louder and louder in the silence you left behind. She checks her phone at night, scrolling through old conversations, hoping to see your name pop up. But it never does. She lingers on social media, expecting to find some bitter post, a sign that you're still stuck in the past. But there's nothing, just silence. And that silence forces her to face what she tried to avoid, her own regret, Because a man who doesn't need to announce his worth is a man who already knows it. You didn't leave because you were weak. You left because you were done. Done waiting. Done explaining. Done hoping she'd see what was right in front of her. And now, she feels you, even when you're not there. Because real presence doesn't fade when you walk away. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the empty spaces, in the stillness of her thoughts. And now, no matter where she goes or who she's with, that silence follows her. Because the man she once knew, the one who quietly held everything together, is no longer waiting, and she knows he's not coming back. Number 8. Your silence speaks louder than words. She thought she could move on, but late at night, when the world is quiet and her mind won't stop racing, she finds herself staring at her phone, scrolling through old messages, rereading conversations she once took for granted. The way you checked in, not because you had to, but because you genuinely cared. The way you always knew what to say, calm, steady, sure. And now, those words feel heavier than they did before. Part of her wants to reach out, to type something simple, something casual. Maybe, "Hey," or "I've been thinking about you." But she hesitates. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, frozen. Because deep down, she knows. She knows the man who once waited, who once hoped she'd see his worth, isn't there anymore. The man who once would have answered right away, eager, forgiving, still holding on, he's gone. And in his place, there's someone different now. Stronger, sharper, wiser. A man who's no longer available to people who couldn't value him the first time. And that's what stops her. Not just fear, not just pride, but the quiet, painful realization that even if she does reach out, you may not even respond, because now you're not waiting. You're not hoping. You're living. And the man you've become, he doesn't look back. Number 9. She wants to reach out, but hesitates. She assumed you'd struggle without her. Maybe she imagined you stuck in place, second-guessing yourself, replaying old memories, waiting for a sign that she wanted you back. In her mind, she believed she had the upper hand, that you'd be the one left wondering, hoping, hurting. But instead, you leveled up. You became sharper, focused on your goals, your growth, your purpose. You became stronger, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, unshaken by what once kept you up at night. You became grounded, walking with calm confidence, moving through life with clarity and purpose. And now, she sees it. Maybe she caught a glimpse of you by chance, looking stronger, healthier, more alive than she remembers. Maybe she overheard someone mention your success, how you've been thriving, building, evolving. Or maybe, worst of all, she saw the way other women now notice you. The same way she once did before she convinced herself you'd always be there. And that's when it hits her. That deep, aching realization. You're exactly the kind of man she wants now. The kind of man who's rare, desirable, exceptional. But you're also the kind of man who would never settle for her again. Because the man you've become doesn't cling to the past. He doesn't entertain people who once overlooked his value. He doesn't waste time on anyone who didn't see his worth the first time. And now, as she watches you thrive without her, she's not just feeling regret, she's feeling something worse. The cold truth that she lost you, and the best version of you is something she'll never get to experience. Number 10. Watching you win without her. She used to believe you'd always be there, that no matter how far she wandered, no matter how long she took to figure things out, you'd still be waiting, ready to pick things up right where they left off. She believed she had time to explore, time to test her options, time to leave and come back whenever she pleased. But now she knows the truth. You're gone. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's not because you're angry. It's not because you're bitter or trying to punish her. It's because you've grown. And in that growth, you've outgrown her. You've stepped into a version of yourself that no longer fits the chapter where she played the lead role. The man you are now, stronger, wiser, more disciplined, doesn't have room for someone who didn't value him when she had the chance. Because you've chosen growth. And that's a path no one can follow unless they're willing to rise with you. And she knows. She didn't rise. She hesitated. She doubted. She assumed she had forever. But life moved forward. And so did you. And now, no matter how much she regrets her choices, she can't reach you. Because the version of you she once knew, the man who waited, the man who hoped, no longer exists. And the man you've become, he's too far ahead to look back. Number 11, the closure you found without her. If she ever does reach out, if she ever builds up the courage to send that message, that late night hey, or I just wanted to say, she'll expect to find the man she once knew. The man who waited, the man who replayed conversations in his head, searching for answers, the man who once hoped she'd realize what she lost. But that man, he's gone. Because you've changed, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in strength. You've given yourself the closure you once thought you needed from her. You stopped chasing explanations, stopped clinging to what-ifs, stopped searching for words that would make the past make sense. Instead, you accepted reality for what it was, and you chose to move forward. Stronger, wiser, free. And now, if she ever reaches out, she won't find the man who once held on. She'll find a man who's let go. A man who no longer waits for closure, because he's already found it within himself. And that's the moment she'll realize the harshest truth of all. The man she once believed would never stop caring, no longer needs her to. Life has a way of revealing truth, sometimes too late. When she finally realizes you were the one, it won't matter. Not because you're bitter, not because you're punishing her, but because you've moved on. You've built a stronger, wiser version of yourself. A man who no longer waits for those who couldn't see his worth. And that's the beauty of growth. It demands you leave behind anyone unwilling to grow with you. So keep moving forward, not to prove her wrong, but to prove to yourself that you are capable of more strength, more peace, more purpose. Because the greatest victory isn't winning her back. It's becoming the man who no longer needs to. Thanks for being with Stoic Heart on this journey today. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts or suggestions for future topics, so drop a comment below. See you in the next video.